higher education institutions have been struggling in a very different business environment with enrollment and more. I've brought Kimberlee Williams, who's the Director of Communications and Marketing at Rutgers University-Newark, to talk about how her institution is actually thriving in this environment, having taken a page out of the consumer marketing playbook. I'm Lisa Merriam, and I lead brand strategy and content marketing with pleOS agency, and we work with Kimberlee to bring her vision forward. I'm going to turn it over to Kimberlee to talk about how she was able to pivot her team away from the traditional apply here, apply now, transactional messaging, and just trying to be louder than other universities, to doing something different, to actually using a marketing-driven approach. So Kimberlee, tell us a little bit about what you were able to achieve at Rutgers Newark.
Well, fortunately, Rutgers University-Newark has had a win worth celebrating, to be quite honest. We've had one of the largest incoming freshman class in our history. And I have to attribute it in part to this project because we were able to really do something differently by putting the student at the center of our marketing and communications. It was really an important project for us because it required that we really look at ourselves as a university and realize that we weren't quite doing marketing. We were making assumptions based on our own opinions and not based on research. But before we could even ask ourselves those important questions, Lisa, we had to account for our internal capacity to deliver. And importantly, many universities don't actually have communications tools or internal teams to handle the demands of 21st century communications, and neither did we. But we invested over time in multimedia capacity, and now we have a storytelling team that's poised to partner with an agency like pleOS. So fortunately, we got to that part, and we were able to engage pleOS in a project that helped us to discover what was really going on with our target audience by asking really important questions during discovery and then using that information to qualify really what is our message, what will resonate with our audience. And once we discovered that, then we engaged in a multifaceted marketing and communications campaign, really the first ever at Rutgers University-Newark.
Yes. All right. So let me walk people through a little bit of the process of that discovery that you talked about. Mm-hmm. What we try to do is first understand what we call the marketscape, which is who are the competition? What is it that you have to offer? A lot of starting really with the customer, understanding what they want, looking at influences and trends, the media, and then the message, starting with the consumer. That's where the marketing starts with market. So we really looked at who might be the people who are applying to Rutgers Newark, and we created personas that looked at each of the key segments in the market. Mm-hmm. What do they care about now, particularly post-COVID? Things have changed in the world of education, but also in the economy as a whole. Indeed. And with communications. And so we looked at it, did a deep dive into who was the best person to bring in as an applicant to the university. We looked at all of the existing materials and how it was really addressing those personas, those consumers. Was it answering the right questions? Was it telling them why they should consider the university? Mm-hmm. And then we looked at how the competition was going to market.
Got to do that.
Absolutely. And it was quite amazing looking at all of these universities everyone was saying the same thing and just trying to say it louder. And they were really just defining what a university was. Like it was going to give you an education and open doors for you. Well, that's what
it better do that.
Exactly. Yeah. But there wasn't anything different. There wasn't anything to say, this is where you need to be. And that's where we made the decision. We looked at what made the university different. That could be the underpinning. It wasn't enough to just shout, apply here. There had to be the answers to why. And I want you to tell us a little bit about what makes Rutgers University-Newark different.
Well, we were under some serious pressure to figure that out. You know, Rutgers University-Newark is located in a major demographic area. And our competition was bringing it to our doorstep, literally. But as you said, they were coming with messaging from, transit to digital, with messages like, we're the best, we're number one, we're the, urban research of New Jersey. But we knew that while, of course, we're those things too at Rutgers University-Newark, there was something that was just truly different that resonated over and over when we interviewed our alumni, our current undergraduate or graduate students. They talk first and foremost about how rich in diversity our university is, and how diversity is more than a buzzword at Rutgers Newark. It is lived. Your experience as a student is enriched because it's such a diverse campus. Not only the students, but the faculty, the staff, and the environment, which is Newark. Right? And that came through too as a major theme, that Newark, being in Newark itself, is really a value. It's something that helps us to define who we are as a university, but it also becomes a rich learning environment where beyond the university campus, it's almost like a blur really between the campus and the city, and all of the partnerships and community engagement, where community is truly at the heart of the work that we do. We have a saying at Rutgers Newark, which is, we're in and of the city of Newark. We love the city, and the city has been such an enriching and loving place for us. And also beyond the campus, the opportunities that students have said that their learning extends beyond the campus is a distinguishing feature of education at Rutgers Newark, whether that means traveling internationally, whether that means doing internships in Washington, D.C. or in New York, or working right here in the city of Newark. Life beyond the campus became something that was truly differentiating. So we rolled out a campaign based on these basic truths about ourselves, things that would be true today and true 10 years from now. We decided to build a campaign on those first.
It sounds like it's very emotionally driven.
Mm-hmm. It is. If you hear the voices of our alumni, which you can hear on our YouTube channel, on our social media, they talk about a true love for the university. They talk about it as transformational. They remember the professors that helped them to feel comfortable and helped them to explore their professional interests. They remember the clubs that they were in. They remember the cafes and the nightlife and the arts in Newark, New Jersey. They truly enjoyed the entire experience of being in a major city in New Jersey that needs them, that wants them, and where they're able to sharpen their skills.
Yes, as an agency working with consumer brands, we know that people make decisions emotionally first, and then they backfill with the facts and figures. And if you can't appeal and connect heart to heart with someone, you're really not doing marketing. You're spewing facts at someone, and facts don't convince. You were able with these insights to connect at a deep emotional level.
Indeed. But in the same token, we connected the campaign, while driven by these emotional factors, to an invitation to visit our campus, because we know that's what converts interest into registrants, right? Enrollments. And so ultimately, of course, that's the point. And what we did in our campaign, we not only just provided people information or answered their questions, but we invited them to participate on our campus, feet on the ground.
Right. So with a good grounding in those powerful emotional messaging, then it was possible to take that messaging and understanding the market and what they wanted, addressing them with really resonant emotional messaging and ideas, then to take that through a decision journey from getting their attention to getting them to come and visit and start engaging, to actually making an application and then deciding, yes, we're going to enroll.
I mean, it all sounds so like, of course, that's what you would do. But that is not what many higher education organizations do. They don't think in that really practical, methodical practice of marketing. And so that's what you helped us to implement. And I appreciate that because we're able to now convert based on our messages.
Right. So what we did then, looking at the steps that students take to make a decision, we looked at what kind of information they needed each step that would take them to the next step. And instead of just making a bunch of brochures and web pages and whatever, we created a journey of material that helped them navigate through all of this information to make that decision. And we set up in that campaign some KPIs because if you're not measuring it, you're not doing it right.
Right.
So we looked at how many more applications we could get, how many more engagements, like you said. Once you get someone on the campus and talking to people, and that's like a page out of the consumer marketing. If you can get somebody to touch a product, they're much likelier to buy the product than if they just look at it through the window.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then increase the traffic to the pages. And we narrowed the focus. Unless you have the budget of a Coca-Cola to reach globally, you have to be careful about how the money was spent.
Right.
So we looked at who, going back to those personas, what is the age group? What is the GPA? What majors are they interested in? And where are they coming from?
Right.
To identify the most likely to apply. So you're not spending money on someone who is unlikely to apply. And then we created a marketing campaign that was very focused on getting the attention to begin with and then going into why choose, answering those questions and having a very consistent group of messages as opposed to trying this message, trying that message. It was always a consistent message that was following in that decision journey. It was never random messages. And there was always a hierarchy of messaging. Instead of, if you looked at that chart that we had where all the universities were saying the same thing, they were saying 20 things and they were giving all 20 things equal weight. And when you say 20 things, you say 0 things. So we had the hierarchy of messaging and aligning it to their priorities, talking to them directly and focusing on those results and getting those conversions. So we had the target audience. We looked at admissions. We looked at transfers. We looked at where they were. And we also did some interesting campaigns around some questions of concern. So sometimes when we did some looking at what students were searching for on Google, they were answering some questions that might make you feel uncomfortable, but they were asking those questions in large numbers.
Right.
So could you tell us a little bit about those uncomfortable questions?
Right. I think that is what we dubbed them, right? Uncomfortable questions, but they're really just questions that were unanswered. And so we as a university were just leaving it up to the internet, whoever that is, to answer these questions that our prospective students had. And they were questions like, is Rutgers-Newark safe? You know, is Rutgers-Newark D1? Is there a difference between the campuses? And quite honestly, they wanted to know if Rutgers-Newark is a good school. And so you could look at these as skeptical questions or potentially negative questions, but we chose to look at them as traffic. Right? Traffic that we wanted to drive to our website, and we wanted to control the answer that these prospective students received. So we did just that. And we put together, or I should say pleOS, designed really effective pages that answered these questions in a way that was direct, and that gave evidence based on the truth about our university. And of course, we're a safe university, right? And of course, we're a great school. But here's the evidence. And also, we're a great athletic program that is a Division III program, and we're the Scarlet Raiders, right? So we're really proud of who we are as a university. And so we had no problem with kind of switching our perspective and just answering the questions, which enabled us to now attract all of that traffic that was going elsewhere to who knows where and getting answers that we really couldn't control. But now we're in the driver's seat in those situations.
Yes. So that was very important part of what we did, was creating the advertising to get the attention that is specifically addressing the questions that are being asked by prospective students, and then testing those ads and then matching them to specific landing pages, and then ensuring that those landing pages started those students on a very controlled process. There's over 1,000 pages on your website.
Right.
And if you dropped everyone on the homepage, you're dropping them into confusion. And what we did was we created an ad that was very specific to their search, a landing page that directed them, answered those initial questions, and then took them on a guided journey to making those, taking action, apply, or visit first, apply, and enroll.
Indeed. Yeah. And they did.
Yes. So I wanted to share an example of one of the high impact creative. This is an ad that matches. You can see the ad in the corner. A lot of it, most of your visitors come through mobile.
Right.
So we designed these as mobile first experiences and showing you how the landing page on the mobile works with the ad. And these were the key strategies. What is unique? How can we connect with ads and landing pages and use retargeting and actually learn from one of the benefits of doing the digital marketing is you start learning what works.
Right.
What ads are working, what phrases are working, so that we could fine tune it over time. And we got some amazing results. I wonder if you could show us, walk us through some of these results.
Yeah, we're really impressed with essentially what was a pilot program turned out to be one of the most impressive things we could have done in a year. This program generated over 136,000 clicks. And these are clicks from, qualified people who are actually looking for information about Rutgers University-Newark. And we led them to these curated pages that Lisa was just talking about. And these clicks originated from Google Ads. And that led to, on our website, 2.6 million impressions. Well, these impressions, from the Google ads cost us, cost per click is in the cents, right? It's not in the dollars, it's in the cents, at 41 cents at a cost per click. And this engagement accounted for about 85% of it accounted for by mobile engagement, right? So that means that this campaign was really meeting people where they were, and that is on their mobile phone. And so we adapted to that. And in the end, we had a suite of pages that were about 10 plus pages that were tailored to specific messages that we know resonate and really define the university now and tomorrow as well. And we had an incredibly high click-through rate, 10%. That's incredible. Even turning those negative perception questions into clicks, right, onto pages that we curated. And the suite of pages, this kind of portfolio of pages that were created, turned out to be some of the top performing pages on the whole site.
Of the 1,000 pages.
Yeah, right. So we created an alternate front door. Right. So you had your official front door, and then we had this very strategic front door that was curated through this campaign. And so overall, almost 25% of the visitors to the site came through this alternate front door, which is pretty impressive. So, right now we kind of elevated the project from one that is a pilot, as I mentioned, to one now that is part of our regular operating procedure. So that means that this is becoming institutionalized as a way of doing business. And not only in Rutgers Newark, but as an example for the university, and I would say for other universities.
You got some really great results from taking a very curated approach to the messaging that matches the ads, that matches the landing pages, and then guides people through a journey that ultimately ends up in the enrollment and with a very authentic brand.
Yes, we are in a great position now to engage the community, to further propel our positioning nationally and internationally, and most importantly, to distinguish us from our competitors with characteristics that are true about the university today and tomorrow.
Thank you, Kimberlee. So obviously, if you're interested in earning a degree, you need to enroll at Rutgers University-Newark. Also, if you're interested in partnering with the university, please give Kimberlee a call. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can better market your institution of higher learning, please give pleOS a call.